Well, we're here today to talk a little bit about forthcoming flight Apollo 11, hopefully the culmination of the Apollo national objective. And we are here being able to talk about this attempt because of the success of 4 previous Apollo manned flights and a number of unmanned flights. Each of those flights contributed in a great way to this flight. Each and every flight took a large number of new objectives and large hurdles and left us with just a very few additions, the final descent, lunar surface work, and ascent to be completed. We're very grateful to those large effort of people here at MSC and across the nation who made those first flights possible, successful, and made it possible for us to sit here today and discuss Apollo 11 with you. I'll ask Mike first to talk about the differences you might see in the command module activities on this flight.
From the command module viewpoint, I hope there'll be very little different on this flight than from its predecessors. Dave Scott and John Young have run through approximately the same sequence of events which will take place for me on Apollo 11, with the exception that the solo period will be somewhat extended on 11. I will be in the thing by myself for slightly over 1 day, and that will include a sleep period. So in some respects, that particular portion of the Apollo 11 flight plan more closely resembles, for example, Gordon Cooper's Mercury flight, where he was up by himself for 30-some hours. The rendezvous has the capability of being somewhat different in that the starting point with the LEM on the surface is a far cry from the preceding rendezvous, where the relative position of the LEM and the command module were very precisely known, having started out from the same little point in the sky together. Whereas in this case, the command module obviously is whizzing around the moon while the LEM is stationary on the surface, and this offers a possibility of rendezvous sequences which could differ significantly from normal. So I think those are probably the 2 major areas in which this flight is somewhat different, again, strictly from the command module viewpoint. Another interesting point to note is that although I'm called the center seat man, in fact, I don't ride in the center seat. I ride in either the right-hand seat for launch or the left-hand seat for the burns, entry, and the other major flight plan events. Buzz?
We do have a few new items on the LEM side of the house on this particular mission. We'll be picking up where the Apollo 10 flight left off when they did their phasing maneuver. And at this point, after departing the command module, coming down in the descent orbit, we'll be igniting the descent engine for the first time under a long burn condition when it is not docked with the command module, and executing this burn under control of the computer, being directed toward the various targets that are fed into the computer, will be new on this flight. Also, we'll be making use of the landing radar and its inputs into the computer, inputs in terms of altitude and velocity updates, which will bring us down in the prescribed conditions as we approach the surface of the moon. Of course, the actual control of the touchdown itself will be a rather new item in that it will be testing this man-machine interface to a very sophisticated degree. The touchdown itself will test be the ultimate test on the landing gear, and the various systems that are in the spacecraft. The environment of 16G will be seen for the first time by crews and spacecraft. We'll also be exposed to thermal conditions that have not been experienced before. The two-man EVA is something that is a first in our program. Sleeping in the LEM on the lunar surface, which we hope to be able to do, will be another new item in this flight. Making star sightings with the alignment telescope to position or correctly determine the attitude of the inertial measurement unit in the LEM vehicle will again be done for the first time. This is a new technique that's used on the lunar surface. And then, of course, the powered ascent with the over 7-minute burn on the ascent engine. These things are the new items that we'll be seeing on Apollo 11. They will bring us back up to that point in the Apollo 10 flight where they had their insertion maneuver. From that point on, we hope that the rendezvous will go as smoothly as it did on that flight. In preparing, of course, for all of these conditions and various contingencies that can develop, we have faced a much wider variety of trajectory conditions that could result, as Mike has mentioned, and lead to a wide variety of conditions of maneuvering spacecraft to bring them back together again. It's in these areas that I've been talking about that Neil and I have been concentrating most of our efforts, since these are the new items on our flight. The other portions of the flight plan have been pretty well worked out by the previous flights, and of course without those procedures having been worked out as well as they have, of course we would not be in a position to fly this mission.